What happens when a single black dad meets his ex-love at parent night, only to find she's now a billionaire CEO? A story of fate, second chances, and hearts colliding again. Like, subscribe, and share this video. Tell us where you're watching from. Let's get started. Marcus Johnson adjusted the collar of his neatly pressed shirt as he walked through the wide double doors of Lincoln Elementary School. Parent night was always a mix of chatter, smiling teachers, and the faint smell of freshly waxed floors. For Marcus, it was routine. He was here for his 10-year-old daughter, Ava, the center of his world. A single father since losing his wife 5 years ago, Marcus had learned to balance work as a community financial advisor with the everyday chaos of parenting. He expected tonight to be like every other, quiet, predictable, and focused entirely on Ava's progress. But then it happened. Across the crowded auditorium, his eyes landed on a face he hadn't seen in more than 20 years. At first, he thought his mind was playing tricks on him. Yet there she was, Victoria Hayes. Time had refined her, not diminished her. The sharp cut of her blazer, the elegance in her posture, the quiet confidence she carried, it all spoke of success. Marcus remembered the headlines he had once glimpsed on the news. Victoria Hayes, the billionaire CEO of Hayes Tech. His breath caught. Memories came rushing back. Their late nights in the campus library, her dreams of building something monumental, the tearful goodbye when she chose ambition over their love. He thought she was gone forever, lost to another world, and now here she was, standing only a few feet away in the same room, as though fate had carefully drawn their paths together again. For a brief moment, Marcus considered walking away. After all, what good could come from reopening old wounds? But the intensity of Victoria's gaze anchored him in place. She hadn't changed those eyes, warm brown with a sharp intelligence behind them. Only now, they carried something else, a gravity that came from years of making high-stakes decisions and carrying an empire on her shoulders. Marcus remembered the girl she used to be. Back in college, Victoria was the one who scribbled her big dreams on napkins during late-night diner runs. She spoke of Silicon Valley before it was trendy, of software empires and glass towers. He had admired her ambition even when it scared him. But when the day came for her to chase those dreams, she left. She chose a world he didn't belong to, a world of venture capital meetings, cross-country flights, and boardroom wars. Meanwhile, Marcus built a life grounded in simplicity. Marriage, fatherhood, and later, the heartbreak of becoming a widower. He wasn't rich, but he had built something that mattered: stability, purpose, and a daughter who gave him reason to rise every morning. Now, standing in the same auditorium, the contrast between them was undeniable. He in his neatly pressed but modest attire, she in a tailored designer suit that whispered power. Two people who once fit perfectly together now seemed like reflections from different worlds. And yet, beneath the differences, a question lingered. Was there still room for the love they once left behind? The school event wrapped up with the principal's announcements, and parents began filtering out into the hallways, chatting in clusters. Marcus, hoping to avoid an awkward moment, steered toward the exit. But before he could slip away, he heard his name spoken softly yet firmly. "Marcus!" He turned. Victoria stood there, her presence commanding yet vulnerable in a way that startled him. For a second, neither spoke. The hum of voices around them faded, as though the world had shrunk down to just the two of them. "It's been a long time," she said, her smile measured, carrying both warmth and hesitation. "Yeah," Marcus replied, his voice calm but his pulse racing. "A lifetime, it feels like." The conversation began with the safe, predictable topics. She asked about Ava, and he asked about her son, Ethan. Their words skimmed the surface, polite and practiced, but beneath every exchange, an ocean of unspoken history churned. Marcus admitted that life had changed after his wife's passing, that fatherhood demanded all of him, but in return, it gave him meaning. His honesty caught Victoria's expression for a fleeting moment. softening the CEO exterior she wore like armor. In turn, she confessed that though she had everything, wealth, recognition, power, there were nights she stared out of her penthouse window and felt utterly alone. Success, she admitted, didn't erase emptiness. As the hallway grew quieter, their eyes held longer, steadier. The weight of 20 lost years pressed between them. And for the first time that evening, Marcus wondered if fate was giving them a second chance. The next morning, Marcus dropped Ava off at school, her backpack bouncing as she skipped ahead. He paused when he saw her greet a boy with an easy laugh. They shared a secret handshake that spoke of familiarity and friendship. Marcus smiled. Ava had always been shy, but around this boy, she seemed alive with joy. "Dad, that's Ethan," she explained later, her tone casual but filled with excitement. "We're working on the science fair project together. He's really smart." Marcus's chest tightened when he realized Ethan was Victoria's son. The connection between their children wasn't orchestrated. It had happened naturally, without the weight of history or past regrets. The innocence of it touched something deep in him. Later that week, Marcus watched from his car as Ava and Ethan walked out of school together, laughing over a shared joke. Victoria was waiting nearby. Their eyes met across the parking lot, and for the second time, Marcus felt the universe nudging them closer. That evening, Ava couldn't stop talking about Ethan, how he loved robotics, how he'd invited her to join his coding club, how he shared his lunch when she forgot hers. Marcus listened quietly, struck by the irony. The children had built a bridge without even knowing the history that linked their parents. For Marcus, it was more than coincidence. It was as though life was giving him and Victoria a gentle push, showing them that sometimes healing and love began not with grand gestures, but with the laughter of children. When Victoria extended the invitation to dinner, Marcus hesitated. Her world was not his. She lived in glass towers, hosted meetings with global leaders, and carried the kind of wealth he could never imagine. He, on the other hand, was a man of modest routines, budgeting, school drop-offs, and Saturday morning pancakes. But Ava's excitement at the idea of seeing Ethan again left him little room to decline. The following Friday evening, Marcus and Ava stepped into Victoria's penthouse. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed the glittering skyline of New York, and art pieces worth more than his annual salary lined the walls. Marcus felt instantly out of place, tugging at his jacket, while Ava and Ethan disappeared into another room. Victoria appeared, dressed elegantly yet simply, her smile disarming. "It's just dinner, Marcus," she said softly, sensing his unease. They ate at a long marble table, but it wasn't the food, though it was prepared by a private chef, that stood out. It was the conversation. They spoke about their children, parenting struggles, even funny mishaps that reminded Marcus of their college days. Slowly, the walls came down. At one point, Victoria set her wine glass aside and looked directly at him. "Money built walls around me, Marcus," she admitted, "but you always knew how to break them." Her words pierced through the distance he had felt all night. For the first time, Marcus saw not the billionaire CEO, but the woman he had once loved, still there, still reachable. The weeks that followed were filled with small but meaningful moments. School events, project meetings, and weekend playdates kept drawing Marcus and Victoria into the same spaces. What began as polite exchanges soon grew into comfortable conversations, full of laughter and the ease they once shared long ago. But neither rushed. Marcus carried the weight of loss, and Victoria carried the responsibility of an empire. They both knew love wasn't something to leap into carelessly. It required patience, trust, and the willingness to see each other not as who they once were, but as who they had become. One evening, after the children had fallen asleep during a movie night at Victoria's home, Marcus found himself standing on her balcony. The city stretched endlessly before them, but his eyes were on her. "I don't know if we can go back," he admitted, voice low but steady. "Too much has changed." Victoria stepped closer, her expression soft. "Maybe we're not meant to go back," she replied. "Maybe we're meant to start again. Different, better." There was no dramatic kiss, no fairy tale ending. Instead, there was a promise, an understanding that second chances weren't about recreating the past, but building something new. At the next parent night, Marcus no longer felt like the man overshadowed by a billionaire. He felt like a father, a partner in progress, and someone finally ready to embrace a new chapter. Love, he realized, wasn't about perfection. It was about choosing each other again and again,